Hi everyone, this is a tutorial video for version 1.5 of Grid Singularity's Energy Exchange software. In our UI, we've just released the Canary Network flow, so I'm going to go over what is part of that feature and how it applies to our whole product. To get started, let's talk a little bit about the user roles that we've envisioned in our software and the systems that we're building with it. As Grid Singularity, we see ourselves as the exchange operator. So in the simulation interface and in the Canary Networks, we are basically the admin who is facilitating energy trades through our open market platform. Then, of course, we have the grid manager who has another role and who can connect to a live running Canary Network through the Grid Operator API, where they can change grid fees in our simulation. And then, of course, we have the trading agent or company or third-party partner who we call the aggregator, who is allowed to place trades on behalf of energy assets through the asset API into the exchange. So that's the second role here, the aggregator. And then the third role is what we call the energy community or prosumer, who is basically the owner of the assets or the home that is there for trading through the prosumer app through the trading agent into our exchange. So as part of this new Canary flow that we've released, we further developed some of these user roles. And so we see that the Canary Network is a live running simulated exchange where we can read live data coming from assets, coming from forecasting algorithms, from trading agents, and schedule trades in our exchange based off that data, and then also schedule trades and have the costs be reflected in the grid tariffs that are set by the grid operators. So the goal of the Canary Network is to see what a live running exchange would look like in your community by reading in live data from a smart meter or energy assets in your community. So I think that is basically set. For people who are interested in setting up a Canary Network for their community, basically they have their own interface to our exchange as the everyday homeowner, but the exchange interface is mostly developed for aggregators who are placing the trades. So I'll show you both of those, what both of those exchange views are going to look like and how we can create an interface for each of these different user types. So now moving into our exchange, I'm going to log in here as a normal GSY user who has a community that they want to simulate. And so let's say I'm simulating my community in the UI, and then what I'll be able to do next is show my interest in starting a Canary Network, and then the admin user will see my request and then actually launch my simulation to a live Canary Network, invite me to participate in that Canary Network, as well as the aggregator and grid operator. So this is the normal process of building a simulation, so let's get one started here. So I'm just going to add a couple homes for this example. Taking a second to save. Now I have my simulation set up as I would normally, and I'll go ahead and run the simulation. One new feature that we've added here is the energy bills and net energy traded graph. So we'll be able to look at this zoomed in and zoomed out view. Let's look at the community view. Yeah, so in the community we can see the 3 homes here, how much energy they're buying and selling, how much they are buying or selling to the grid market, and the total values. And if we set grid fees for any of these, for this market, the community market, it will also appear here in this table. So this is a new addition for this release. Another thing we've added, I'm only running this simulation for 1 week, but this is a weekly selector at the top. So if I run my simulation for a month, for example, I'll be able to click on this and see 4 weeks listed here, or 5 weeks, depending on the number of weeks. And I can click to view the results of each different week. So let's take a little bit of time here to wait for the results to load. Another tool that's really easy to use is the list view here. So usually I use this to navigate the results. So if I want to look at my home results, I can just click in the side panel to view the results of my home. And same here for the assets inside the home. In this graph, we can see how the homes are trading here. So most of the energy is coming from the grid market. Home 2 is self-consuming. I think that's the home with PV panels. And we're at 71% complete. So once my simulation is completed, I'll get the notification inviting me to join a Canary Network, and I'll be able to click on that to request launching my community to a Canary Network. And in the future, we'll have some more information here that we're going to develop about, what geographical areas can people actually deploy local energy communities, what kind of paperwork or regulation you might need to follow. So we'll be adding this as part of our social community manager tool, which will be coming up in the next few months. Okay, now my simulation is finished, and I get this invitation to bring my simulation closer to reality through the Canary Network feature. So I click here, and actually I should get a bigger message. So it basically shows that my, yeah, here we go, my request has been sent. And so I click to finish, and then the next step is for the admin to see my request. So let's log in here as the admin user. And so this user is basically Grid Singularity, but in the future we may develop more of an exchange operator or community manager type user who can also maintain some ownership of the Canary networks and communities. So here, as the admin, I have a request that someone has requested a Canary Network, and so I approve that request, which basically launches that simulation into a Canary Network. And you'll be able to see here that in this arrow is where we can click from simulations to Canary Network. So that's how we can see which items are simulations and which ones are Canary Networks. So now I am inside the Canary Network for this community. When we take a look, there's really not that much that looks different on the first glance. But the main thing that has been added here is a registry. So as the owner here, my job is to invite those different user roles to the registry that we discussed in the beginning of the video. So say, I know here the people who live in these 3 homes, and then also the aggregator who's going to be trading on their behalf. So let me add these users to the simulation. So this user is a homeowner. This one is actually the aggregator user. And then also the grid operator. So when I click send invites, all of these users get an invitation sent to their email with the link to this Canary Network, and now they have access and they're able to see it. This is one thing that we added since the previous release. In D3A for Canary Networks, we had a private versus public function, and in this GSY version, all of the Canary Networks are private. So we've developed this invitation tool, which is new, which allows us to invite users and to keep only allow those users to have access to the Canary Network. And so that's also part of this new registry here. So I can see through a user view and then a community assets view. So in the user view, you can see the users I've added. And so for these homeowners, I can assign them a home here. And when I do, their logo appears on the map. Zoom in a little. And then the aggregator and the DSO. So in the user view, I can see the users, and then we also developed a community assets view where then I can see all of the assets in my community and who is actually registered to them. So we have a couple different types of registrations. The homeowner is added here so that they have a login and they can log in and see their home results. And these permissions is something that we're finishing for the next release, so I'll be able to show more of that the next time. For the aggregator, we kept the same structure as what we had in D3A, and they actually need to apply to trade on behalf of all these assets and homes, and the admin has to certify that, yes, they are allowed to trade on behalf of these customers. And then for the grid operator, we have automatically registered them to the grid marketing community market, so they are allowed to change the grid fees there. So technically speaking, the GSY users are symbolically connected to their home. The aggregator is registered to trade through the asset API, which is through our GSYE SDK. And then the grid operator can change the grid fees through the grid operator API, also supported through our SDK. Okay, so I think that covers how the registry works. So the next step is to actually show the aggregator applying for the assets. So let's log in as the aggregator user here. And now that I'm the aggregator user, I can scroll to Canary Networks, And I can see the list of Canary networks I've been invited to. So this one tutorial, it's not visible for users that haven't been invited. And then what I need to do is go to the registry, and I need to apply on behalf of the assets where I want to trade. So I'll go ahead and apply for all of them. And it's that simple. Now I'll log out and then log back in as the admin user. And once I approve this registration on behalf of the aggregator, they will get an email specifying the exact UUID of the asset they've been registered to, and also the ID of the Canary network. And so this is what they'll need to connect to the asset API in order to trade. And I'll show that in a second. So now I need to approve the aggregator. And so we can see here we have the aggregator icon next to the homeowner icon. So there's actually 2 registrations here, but only one is allowed to trade on behalf of the asset. Okay, now that I'm registered, before I start running the Canary network, I'm going to change a few things about the assets here, just so that I can trade in a few different ways. So this is actually something that we need to update later, but we have a live data switch. And this switch basically enables this asset to read from a live data stream directly into the Canary network. So for example, we have some assets from a research project that live in our database and are sending us live data from smart meters. And so we can read that live data directly into the Canary network and make the trades based on that data. If we don't enable this live data switch, we can still trade through the API, but we can trade based on the uploaded profile here. So I'm going to run this Canary network with both scenarios, one here in home 2 where we're going to trade just based on the profiles in the home, and then for the other 2 homes I will connect them to one of our live data streams coming in. So as a customer or a community who is going live on our Canary network feature, they would be able to directly connect through the live data API their smart meters. So in this case, I actually need to turn this off for this example to read through the uploaded profiles. So let me just make that change quickly. Okay, and then for these homes, I'm going to, the live data is on, and then I need to give them an appropriate name in order to read from our live assets. So one moment. Okay, great, and now that's saved. So then the next step and the final step is to launch the Canary network and to start trading on behalf of the APIs. So I'm going to click run here. And then as this gets started, we're going to transition into setting up the API scripts. So I'm going to go back to the desktop here. So in order to find the API scripts, we have them located open source in our SDK on GitHub. So I'll be using two here, the Asset API and the Grid Operator API. So we've worked on some templates where you can use the templates we have, or you can actually program your own trading strategies and grid tariff algorithms here. So to get started, I need to open my terminal. And we have specific directions for this in our documentation, but you basically need to set up a virtual environment and then start trading through the API. So to trade on behalf of the assets, I start my virtual environment. And then what I'll be doing is actually going to my email, where I have an email specifying the UUID of the Canary Network, and then I need to paste this into my terminal. So here I have the template, my username, and the UUID. So I click enter. And you can see now I have registered to those assets through the API, and pretty soon we'll start to see some logs of the bids and offers. In the meantime, I can open up another terminal for the Grid Operator API, and here we'll need to add the commands for the Grid Operator. So you can see on the left side, I'm already starting to get some bids. So here I'm connecting to the community market, and I will be able to start changing the grid fees according to this script. So the thing with Canary Networks is they run in real time, so it's going to take a little bit of time to see the results, and especially to see the graphs over a period of time. So we're running real-time 15-minute spot markets, so every 15 minutes we'll get a new data point in the results, which I can bring up here. So we can click here to start to see the results. So yeah, we'll have to wait for 15 minutes to pass in order to start to see some of the results. And through the Grid Operator API, we'll be able to see a change in the grid fees. And then we'll be able to see trading on behalf of the assets, so the ones that are using their profiles and the ones that are reading from the live data stream that I connected. So this will take a little bit of time, but in the meantime, let's see if I can maybe pull up a Canary Network that already has some results from earlier today. Okay, this was the one running from earlier today, and it is a little tricky to see some of the results here. I think I only ran it for about an hour or so. But it's about the same setup where we have 3 homes, and so these homes are trading in the grid market. And if we enable the grid fee here, we can see the grid fee, it only changed by a little bit, but it goes from 0 to 0.005 cents. It's not cents actually, but 0.4 cents, 0.5 cents. So that's changing over time every 15 minutes. Yeah, we optimize these graphs to show 7 days, to show a weekly view, because we expect, you know, in Canary Networks, this is going to be running for many weeks, so it is a little bit hard to see. And then we can look, this is one of the assets reading from live data. So we can see the profile here, and then we can see where we were actually trading based on the profile and what the price was. Same for this PV that was trading. And we can see that the battery was trading a little bit too during this short period. I think home 2 is the one with the load, battery, and PV. So we can see the most information here. Looks like the load was buying all of its energy from the community and some from the PV. And then the battery, yeah, was also selling energy to the load. And the battery was also charging a little bit of the PV energy. So yeah, basically this is what we can see here. We'll be adding events in the future. So as you make changes to the Canary Network while it's running, we'll be able to add more houses, simulate growth, and different optimization scenarios. And we have the different views for different users. So basically the grid operator, the aggregator, and the homeowner can all log in to the Canary Network to see their results. Let's go back and see what we're reading here in the scripts. So right now we can see some bids from the load and the Tesla Powerwall, and then the grid operator API still needs more time to show some of the output from the community grid fees here. So let's go back to the simulation, and I'll show one more feature that we added that was not there previously, and this is the duplicate feature. So we can see here as the admin, I can actually, or actually every user can duplicate a public community or simulation. So if we look in the all category, all of the public simulations here, if you see one that's interesting and you want to actually run more versions of it, make some changes, you can duplicate it. So you can click here and then you click to duplicate. And then we should see shortly the duplicated version open up. Now I have the duplicated version here. So this is saved as my simulation now, and yeah, it's completely independent, so I can make changes here. So it's possible to duplicate the simulations and then also Canary Network. So it's a bit faster to do rapid prototyping. All right, I think that sums up most of the new news for this release. Unfortunately, I closed my previous window here showing some of the results here, so we'll probably end up making a separate video, maybe to go into more detail about the asset and grid operator APIs, because it does take a little bit of time to complete the slots here since it's running in real time. And yeah, when we have the collaborations feature finished, it's basically the same as Canary Networks, but we're able to run simulations with a data stream, just not reading live. So you can send it from an external source or upload it into the UI, and so those simulations run much faster. Okay, great. Then yes, I'll end here, and don't hesitate to contact us if you have any more ideas or input or interest in running a live Canary network with us. Thanks.